my dream, and nobody's gonna stop me. I'm gonna find One Piece, and then I'll be king of the pirates.
I kind of missed out on the early One Piece games like Grand Battle on the PS2 or Grand Adventure on the Wii, and that's because I wouldn't get into One Piece until like 2010, only to take a break from it partway through Dressrosa, but due to recent developments in the story, it convinced me to reread the manga again and get myself up to date. And I found myself forgetting why I dropped this series in the first place. It's flipping One Piece, one of the best shonen manga ever made. Come on baby, you know I didn't mean it like that, I still love you. Even though, yeah, some of the New World stuff has its issues, but when One Piece is good, it's fantastic. Since then, my relationship with One Piece games are very hit and miss. The last time I truly enjoyed a One Piece game was with Unlimited World Red. Don't get me wrong, I like the Warriors spin-offs, but I think One Piece is at its best when it's aiming for more of an adventure and exploration style formula. Because out of all the big three, One Piece has always been geared more towards the adventure aspect of things. That's also a reason why Burning Blood never really did it for me either, and Jesus Christ, let's not even talk about World Seeker. So, when it was announced that we were getting a One Piece RPG, I was over the moon. It's about time. The last attempt we had at this was Romance Dawn on the 3DS. Not bad by any means, just very clunky and simple to say the least. Only covering the first half of the One Piece story though, since this was in 2012, so it's what you expect. This time though, One Piece Odyssey was being developed by I Love Computer Art, the guys that helped out with Dragon Quest XI, so yay, and they also worked on Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearls, so yay. I was more than ready for a full-fledged up-to-date One Piece adventure on home consoles, and yeah, okay, that's not actually how much time I spent playing, it's just that if I leave the game suspended on my PS5 and change to another app like YouTube or Netflix, the game's runtime still continues for some reason. I noticed it maybe after the third time and started to close the game after that. I think it's more accurate to say that based on the footage I've recorded, it's more around the 60-hour mark. Still girthy, and I didn't even 100% everything. I mean, I did all the side stuff and, you know, side quests and the bounties and even DLC. But let's get into it. I'm Bajika, I'm from SkyPR, and I just stopped by to play some JRPGs. Don't comment and subscribe because I'll most likely visit you at your workplace and propose. Oh, and spoilers throughout the whole video. Let's jam. Our story begins with the Straw Hat crew approaching a mysterious island, getting struck by unusual lightning and crash landing on it. We also get a cutscene featuring the 5 elders talking about a secret weapon hidden on the island, and that they'll need to send him to deal with the Straw Hat crew. Who is him? It's not as exciting as you might think, trust me. First things first, this game is gorgeous. I Love Computer Art really excels with the anime CGI look. To my surprise, they also worked on Storm 4, Nier Automata, and Yakuza 0. This studio really deserves more credit. It's funny because I had just caught up with One Piece at this point, so I decided to finally start playing Pirate Warriors 4, and it just looks yuck in comparison. I also adore these character models and overall aesthetic and enemy designs. Waking up on the island, we come across 2 of the island's inhabitants, Lin and Idol. As it's revealed that we're on the island known as Waford, if we wish to escape, we need to find and defeat the 4 elemental guardians to release the barrier. Only problem with that is the fact that Lin accidentally stole and stored all of our abilities into cubes and scattered them into Memoria, a hidden plane of existence made up of the Straw Hat's memories. And so we need to relive past arcs, get our strength back, and defeat the 4 Guardians. This is giving me serious Unlimited World Red vibes, down to the story, themes, and structure. Considering that Oda wrote the stories for both of these games, I can't say I'm surprised. So where does the game fall into the One Piece timeline? It's just somewhere in the status quo, since we play through a memory of Dressrosa clearly after that, but the Straw Hats are all together and the samurai aren't around. Plus we also get references to Germa and the Vinsmoke family, so you could debatably say it's after Wano, but before Egghead Island. But wait, Jinbei isn't here though, so whatever. Continuity issues aside, the story here is set up pretty well, although you could probably figure out the answers to most of the mysteries within the first few hours, like who the twist villain is and where this island is from. But hey, the fun part is the journey getting to those answers, so how does this game do? There's a weird conversation to be had about how this story is structured and what people expected from it. First, what could easily be a turnoff is that we're running into that problem the Dragon Ball Z games had for a while, where we're just retreading the same stories over and over again. But in this case, having the cake and eating it seems to work in this game's favour. Waford in itself is fun to explore, though not very big, but it's only one area out of the 4 One Piece arcs we play through: Alabasta, Water 7, Marineford and Dressrosa. For those disappointed that we don't get any East Blue arcs, Sky PR or Impel Down, you know what, Impel Down could have been a banger. Could you imagine being able to add Crocodile, Das Bones and Buggy D Clown to your party? Anyway, I promise you that the arcs we do get are done justice for the most part. Alabasta, for instance, has you making the entire expedition that the Straw Hats made from when they land in Nanoha all the way to Alabana, which in itself is a process and a half. From the quirky townsfolk to the Kung Fu Dugons, the Oasis, the Rebellion and Baroque Base, to Crocodile's Casino, with all the bounty hunts, collectibles and side quests in between, there's a healthy amount of content in this one arc alone. But at the same time, I can understand the people who just wanted to flow from the East Blue Saga all the way to, well, maybe not Wano, but at least Whole Cake. You know, really earn that Odyssey title and scrap all this original content about Waford and these dungeons. It would have been a catch-22 either way if they had gone all out with the original content, or had they just stuck with the source material. I think what we got is a decent enough of a compromise. Not to mention, the Straw Hats are reliving these arcs with hindsight, which again, Unlimited World Red, but it's nice to see how much the characters have grown. Like for instance, in Alabasta, Robin decides to leave the crew to it and do her own thing. Since at this time in the story she was working with Crocodile, she doesn't want to cause any complications by being around. Or like when Luffy bumps into Ace, he stares at him, takes a deep breath, and just enjoys seeing him again. A lot of these moments come across as very somber and do tug at my heart a bit. For the 100th time that I see Luffy punching Crocodile in this exact same cutscene and cringe a bit, there's a moment like where we land in Water 7 and Usopp asks if he can leave the party and just sit with the Going Merry for a while. It's funny because I find myself getting more invested in these moments that deviate due to retrospection, as opposed to the emotional scenes that are just being remade from the manga, like Vivi saying goodbye to the crew. You know what? Hang on. Speaking of Robin not being around because of the other Robin, why couldn't we unlock the cowboy costume for her? In fact, yeah, why is it that the only costumes you can access in this game are the pre-timeskip ones? And that's just free DLC. That's such a letdown, considering how often the Straw Hats change costumes in the manga, not to mention the Pirate Warriors games have this absolutely mastered. Nowadays when I play a JRPG, alternate costumes are just what I expect. And shut up, I know there's a PC mod, but I like to talk about games on their own terms, and explain why I'm so angry and disappointed by a bunch of pixels. All I wanted was to see Robin in a bikini. Anyway, back to Water 7. I'm gonna be honest, Water 7 impressed me with how big it is. You've got the City of Water itself, which is massive. You've got the Galela Company HQ, which is a whole separate area, the Frankie family hideout, the sewers that connect them, and the Tower of Justice. Holy shit, those battleships are huge. I'm just a tiny guppy in an ocean full of sharks. Though this is where I'm gonna bring up something that crossed my mind during this arc. In the Alabaster section, the only members of Baroque works we get to fight are Bon Clay and Crocodile, and with CP9 we only get Rob Lucci and Kaku. I'm not saying we had to recreate all the one-on-one fights in each arc, but perhaps a little battle royale against them as a party maybe? Because most of the other members don't even show up in cutscenes or have any character models, so sometimes it begs the question, where are they or what are they doing if these are meant to be recreated memories? I'm not trying to make a big deal out of it, it's just something I couldn't help but notice. I know that's a thing that games sort of just do, only having the major characters show up for the sake of brevity and budget, but with the context of these being memories, it's just kind of funny.
ごめんね。
メリー。
もっとみんなを遠くまで運んであげたかった。ずっと一緒に冒険したかった。だけど僕は。
分かってる、メリー。お前は今でも俺たちの仲間だ。
僕は本当に幸せだった。今まで大切にしてくれてどうもありがとう。
ああ、見ててくれ。俺たちの冒険を。もう一度お前と旅ができてよかったよ、メリー。
Marineford is a bit of a weird one. There's no exploration or anything, it's just a glorified boss rush trying to rescue Ace. It's over in like an hour. Honestly speaking though, it's so heartwarming seeing the Straw Hats be here for Luffy at Marineford. It sort of plays out as this redemption arc for them not being able to support their captain the first time. The boss rush against all the admirals and warlords one after the other reinforces the desperation that Luffy felt, and what really drives it home is Luffy's response to Ace's death. The reason why I say Marineford is a bit weird though is because afterwards, you can actually come back to it and then explore it during the aftermath. It's far smaller than any of the other locations, seriously it's tiny, but your side quests and wanted bounties are still here. And Marineford being so small makes the quest givers so much easier to find. The quest system in this game gives off serious Mass Effect 3 vibes. The quest giver is marked on the map, but a lot of the time, once they give you the quest, the marker disappears, and once you've finished it, you have to just try to remember where the quest giver was, or run around like a headless dugong. I feel like I've complained about this sort of thing before. I'm starting to wonder if I'm the problem. Moving on. Finally, let's get to Dressrosa. Man, I wish there was some sort of arena or coliseum mode, but what better way to follow up the death of one brother for the reintroduction of another. Sabo tags along to the siege on Doflamingo along with Law and Rebecca as uncontrollable assist characters. You know, since we always have Lim around, this game could have done with a summon mechanic, having the ability to summon assist characters through cubes by filling a meter or something. Though, we wouldn't want the game to get too easy now, would we?
Actually, yeah. Let's get into the gameplay before we touch the final act. Despite my joke about the game being easy, I did honestly have fun. It's turn-based but with enough variables going on to make it engaging. You've got 4 active characters on the field and each are designated their own zones occupied by various enemies. Your character is stuck on that zone until the enemies occupying it are defeated, and you're then free to move that character elsewhere to back up another character, though you are free to swap characters around provided that they haven't had a turn yet. Character attacks also have different attack ranges. Luffy's Gum Gum Bullet will only attack one enemy in his zone, his Gum Gum Gatling will attack all enemies in his zone, His Gum Gum Pistol can attack an enemy in another character's zone, and Conqueror's Haki can attack all enemies on the field at once. Heck, some attacks will even knock an enemy into another character's zone. But you're also going to have to take into account the rock paper scissors dynamic. Characters have their own categories. Power beats speed, speed beats technique, technique beats power. Fire Emblem Triangle, press circle to switch to Knuckles, you get it. If you want to use all those signature moves, then you need to build tension by using regular attacks. You can also fill up the Team Gorge and unleash team attacks. You also have items which allow you to buff, debuff, heal, afflict status ailments, you have it. Not only do you level up with experience, but you also level up skills individually with skill cubes which you find out on the field. And lastly, you can equip accessories on this grid to build characters the way you wish. For some characters this is a necessity. Robin was a glass cannon when I first got her. She could barely take any hits before being KO'd, so I really needed to boost her defense. The game can be a little too skewed in your favor, but combat never feels boring. It's like how a lot of people complain that Persona 5 Golden did I say Golden? Persona 5 Royale is too easy, but the combat has such a rhythm to it that you forget how easy it is. With One Piece Odyssey though, the gimmick that really complements combat and is something I would love to see implemented more often are the bonus chances that activate randomly in combat. For instance, here Robin gets surrounded by enemies. Brook asks if he can see her panties if he saves her. Then a challenge prompt will appear telling you to clear out Robin's area with Brook before she gets knocked out, though the enemies in that area will also get a strength boost. But if you succeed, you're rewarded with bonus experience. Sadly, not Robin's panties, but this is a constant mechanic that appears throughout the game. Like in one battle, Zoro and Sanji ended up spawning in the same area tile and started bickering about who could take down the enemy first. The game would give me a prompt to knock out the enemy with Sanji for bonus XP. Sometimes I'd have to defeat the enemy in a certain number of turns. Things like that keep every encounter feeling fresh, though weirdly the closer I got to the end game was the less frequently that this happened. But not only is it fun to just see the characters interact with each other and the current situation as the encounter escalates, but it keeps your brain from doing things on autopilot. I know I said I'd love to see this type of feature implemented in other JRPGs. I understand that it's quite context sensitive. I know we've come a long way since the grind and high encounter days of Final Fantasy, but I don't know, it's kind of like how Star Ocean 4 would give you character specific challenges to do during combat, or the Legend of Heroes bonus bar on the side. I just love it when a JRPG implements things like that. Our only playable characters are the Straw Hat crew, but that's 9 characters in your roster with 4 active at all times. I still find it jarring that Jinbei isn't here, but with 3 characters for each type, power, speed and technique, Jinbei would have thrown off the balance, I guess. Luffy was definitely my favourite character to have on the field since he has the most versatile moveset and best damage output. Same with Zoro actually. Sanji was okay. Most of his moveset is stuff we've seen from the first half of the Grand Line, but I do wish we could have had a bit more from the New World, like his invisibility or access to his Germa raid suit. Like I said, the Vinsmokes are referenced, so why not? He also can't hit women, so yeah. Maybe give him some cooking based healing abilities since Chopper's the only healer on hand. I know we can bring food and cooking items with us into battle, but it could have been that extra thing for him to stand out. I also think that Robin could have done with a few more moves actually, considering how OP she is in the manga. Nami on the other hand is a complete powerhouse. She can call status ailments, attack all enemies at once, steal items. I always find it funny that Nami remains a coward in the New World considering how strong she actually is. Chopper comes equipped with some strong and versatile attacks along with healing abilities. He's also your only white mage. You can go monster point, but with this you lose access to his healing abilities. But it works as a really good tank and damage dealer, so meh. Brook. I was kind of disappointed. Brook is a musician. I was expecting more buff and debuff type of gameplay with him. I've probably been playing too much Dragon Quest. Usopp was more than useful with his ranged attacks. A lot of his pre-New World moves require a skill check on enemies to work, like his Rubber Band of Doom or fake 5-ton hammer. They only work if the enemy's dumb enough to fall for them. He passes as a trickster, I guess. Frankie is another powerhouse, but I was really disappointed that we didn't get any general Frankie gameplay. In terms of characterization, it's all good. The Straw Hats are the Mugiwara pirates we all know and love. Their interactions are comedic and the gags are all accounted for. There's so much personality here that it's never a dull moment, even when navigating dungeons, which are honestly better than some dungeons I've seen in other JRPGs. You've got your standard themes and aesthetics, sure, but the puzzles are fun enough, and the dungeons are just the right length. And most of the Straw Hats have their uses. Luffy can swing large gaps, Zoro can cut gates, Chopper can squeeze through tight spaces, the works. The only thing I find myself scratching my head at is the music. Battle themes are fine, but the overworld music, it feels like the type of music I'd hear in Dragon Quest, which isn't a good thing. I mean, it's not bad, just not what I'd expect, I guess, is my point. And as much as I praise the production values, some of the character models could have done with some extra animations. Like, look at this boss fight with Sabo, where he just constantly has this derpy facial expression while he decimates my party. And why are we fighting Sabo? So yeah, let's wrap up and talk about the climax. So after defeating the Shadow of the Colossus, it turns out Waford was originally a sky island that fell into the ocean. Ido's ancestors were driven away from Waford by the world government because they wanted to take control of a weapon known as the Divine Breath. The natives became wanderers for years, even forgetting their heritage, even still being hunted by the world government, until Ido and his crew discovered that their origins are from Waford and decided to locate the island. After every one of his crew being killed by the Marines, Ido eventually reached Waford, only to find Lim and befriend her. They live together on the island until the Straw Hats arrive, and Ido sees this as an opportunity to trick Lim and to use the Straw Hats to defeat all the Colossus and take the Divine Breath for himself, to exact revenge on the world that treated him so harshly. If you guys know me, these are the types of villains that I fuck with. The world fucked them over for selfish reasons, and now they're out for blood. Classic supervillain stuff. At the very least, I was somewhat on his side until he started treating Lim like shit and started laughing maniacally like a cartoonish Captain Planet villain. When you push a villain this far, that's when I kind of lose interest and they stop being compelling. You could argue that, yeah, it demonstrates how far they've gone, but to me an antagonist is just more interesting when they stick to a code and have more consistency, but it is what it is. Lim, having spent so much time with the Straw Hats, comes to learn about friendship, loyalty, and everything that the Straw Hats and One Piece as a series represents, and decides to assist us in stopping her friend. We have to reach him at the top, where the Divine Breath conjures characters from our memories that we have to face in combat. We defeat Eidos, leaving Lim behind us, thus concluding another Straw Hat adventure. Like I said, I kind of checked out of the story when Ido went from being a complex villain to a cartoonish one. But the messages and themes are stuff you're very much used to at this point if you're into One Piece or JRPG stories in general. Along with the fact that it's almost beat for beat Unlimited World Red. Alright, I'm gonna shut up about that game now. I just really liked it a lot and I'm annoyed we didn't get another one, that's all. An expansion pack was released last month with additional post-game content which adds a bit more context to the backstory of Waford and how it fell into the ocean in the first place, along with playing around with some what-if scenarios, like what if Crocodile succeeded in conquering Alabasta, or what if Whitebeard broke into the Tower of Justice alongside the Straw Hats. With the only new addition being a boss fight with Enel, I was kind of disappointed because based on the trailer, I did think we'd be getting more story arcs adapted, though I'm not sure if more DLC is going to be announced or not. In fact, I only held off on releasing this video because I was waiting for the DLC to be released. Surprisingly, I don't have much to say about it since it doesn't really offer anything new. Nevertheless, you're already getting a healthy amount of content with this game. My personal recommendation is, if you're a One Piece fan, go for it. It's a must buy. If you've never seen One Piece and are just into JRPGs and don't care about spoilers, I mean that's probably how you made it this far into the video, I'd say give it a try if you appreciate new ideas and find the One Piece world charming. But if you're the type of gamer who finds a lack of strategy and tension off-putting, then you probably won't enjoy this one since it can be a bit too easy at times. But I had a lot of fun with this, probably not something I'd go back to unless more DLC is announced though. Definitely a refreshing change of pace from the Warriors games and redemption for World Seeker. I never actually played World Seeker, it just looks terrible. If anyone actually liked it, please tell me and I'll probably give it a try. I'll be looking forward to seeing what other games the One Piece world has to offer us in future, especially once the series ends, which by the looks of things will be soon. A world without One Piece. One of the longest running shonen. What does the 90s have now to represent itself? Case closed. JoJo's. Hajime no Ippo is still going. And Tokyo Beat Cops. Oh, and there's... Oh, my heart.